I've got to start off with Kell Brook. Obviously, video circulated.
Yep,
He's not in the best place mentally, as it seems. So talking
yep.
a reaction to the video.
I spoke to Kell today actually. He's not in a great place, and and that's how it is. And you've got to understand in most sports, I can only speak for boxing. It's the first 5 years of a fighter retiring is the hardest, um, because boxing teaches you to do nothing apart from stand in the door or be a coach. And you've got to think like a bit of a kamikaze pilot. So everything you're doing all year round, around fight, away from fight time, you know in the back of your head, you've got to you've got to prepare for something at some point. You're aiming for something. When that's taken away, there's nothing to aim for. There's nothing to be extreme about. So you can drink, you can do gear, whatever, and be extreme about it because you know when it comes to training for your fight, you've got to throw yourself in it. So you're going to move one extreme to the other. Kel has said, and I think that was more disturbing than anything, has said, I've got nothing to live for. Before this, now I'm not boxing. I'm lost because I was fortunate. I didn't identify myself via boxing. Most fighters, if your life is your heart, without boxing, you've got no, there's no plan B. I think Cal's in that. He's still a young man. Still wants to fight. Age, age is not nice. When it's done, you're done. When your timing's gone, when you can't do what you used to do, that's what you've got to accept. You might still have a young brain, but your body can't do what it used to do. So now you've got to somehow, for the next 50, 60, 70 years you're alive, you've got to somehow find something that gives you that rush boxing gave you. Now, people that have never boxed will never know what rush I'm talking about. It's scary. It's a massive adrenaline boost. It's everything. You test yourself. You need to be mentally strong. You put yourself through the ringer for it. But when it's gone, nothing compares. You're looking for that rush. You're looking for that high. Kell is lost. Kell is um, surrounding himself with a crowd that were never professional fighters, never had that discipline, never had that sort of mentality. So unfortunately for Kell, he's going through it, and he's got to find his happiness. Look at Ricky Hatton. How long ago was Ricky Hatton retired? You think his demons are gone? No, his demons haven't gone. It's only now you see him in down to weight, down looking healthier. But his demons are there, and it's hard for fighters. And I always say this in boxing: it's the aftercare in boxing that is not there. Everyone wants you to be, wants to be around you when you're the one getting your head smashed in the ring, and you're the one putting thousands of people in the arena. People and fighters will give their heart and soul for that. But it's aftercare. There's no aftercare there for fighters, and only a few fighters make enough money to live off. Kel's made a lot of money, so financially, that's not the worry. Financially, the worry is where he is emotionally, how he can balance his life, how he can um, come to terms being a civilian. And I know that sounds really arrogant, but you all of a sudden, from being a fighter, you've never had to take responsibility for what you do. Your wife or your partner or whatever, they're doing it all for you. So you can go to the gym. You can just be void of it all. You can be a man child. But then all of a sudden, when you're not fighting, you've got to do these normal things that everybody does. You think, but yeah, I'm not made for this. I'm made to fight. And as I said, boxing trains you for nothing apart from standing on the door of a club or being a coach. And if you can't do those two, then you're in a turmoil. You've got to somehow re-educate yourself, and that takes years. So I feel for Kell. I feel for where I feel. I feel for him. I feel for his family. I feel for everybody else involved and around him. But he's got to go through it. He's got to go through. He needs help, and he needs guiding. This is the time when you need someone like Brendan there. To help you find your way. And this is the time when people like Brendan are so important. Not just when you're making it, but when you're leaving it as well.
retirement's hard, like you say, for probably 90% of fighters. Retirement comes too early, and they will want to prolong their boxing career. For yourself, you've recently found something that you felt could have prolonged your career in MBST.
Yeah.
First, tell us what that is, what it stands for, and why.
MBST it's a system, it's a cell regeneration system. This has been in Germany for the past 20 years. A lot of the football clubs use it. They used to use it on animals actually when you've got arthritis, aches and pains, help with to deal with your skeletal aches and pains. And people, I had no idea this thing existed. We've got horses here, and we used to use something like that for the horses, just to help regenerate the cells to repair the body. I can't give you a, a scientific breakdown of what it does, but what I can tell you is, if I was introduced to MBST 5 years before I retired, I could have probably boxed on for 3 years after I officially retired. Because even now, I benefit from MBST because most fighters will suffer from bad hands, back, shoulder, neck. These ailments don't affect me because having this treatment, and it's not an invasive treatment. It's basically 1 hour a day for 9 days. Just lay on the bed, and it rejuvenates the cells that are died or just need rejuvenating, and it helps with all of the above. I tell everybody about it. I don't explain it right. It's so hard to explain, and I suppose it's hard to believe because you can't see it. But MBST, there's clinics one in Sheffield, Bingham, Nottingham, a couple in London. Just check it out. Check it out. This is for real. Vladimir Klitschko's got one in his house. Not many. You can't buy these, so not many people own them. But it's good for a lot of teams use it. A lot of people use it to help just to give them longevity. If you just check it out, have a look at it. I'm my example. At one point I couldn't even touch my toes and tie my shoelaces. It was a proper struggle. I had to get someone to tie my laces. Once I discovered that, I was like 2 weeks off of having two vertebrae replaced in my back. And he said, just try this, Johnny. Just try it before. It doesn't, just do it. It's going to cost you time and a bit of money. Just do it. Best thing I did. Didn't have the operation. Don't need the operation. Back pain is like, he said, just a distant memory. But I say to anybody and everybody, male and female, ex-sportsman or not, it's a proper game changer. And I can't wave the flag enough for it.
I want to mention a fight that's just gone this weekend past. Arthur Beterbiev and Anthony Yarde. Unbelievable fight, first of all. But I just want to, rather than focus on the fight itself, what is next for both men? Anthony seems to be stock risen in a loss. Everyone called in for Beterbiev, Bivol in unification. But what do you think realistically?
Yeah. I think, unfortunately for Anthony Yarde, he's in the division where you've got Beterbiev and Bivol, which are standing, tough, hard nut fighters. I think if those two guys went around, Anthony Yarde would be a world champion. As I say, his stock has risen. I think there are some amazing fights for him domestically. Buatsi, does he want to really? Is that going back? That's a good domestic fight. But I think this young man could be a world champion. I think this young man could achieve so much. I spoke to Spencer Fearon, who works with Tunde, and Anthony's coach, and I said, the only problem is I just hope he keeps faith, believes in himself, don't let it break his heart, don't make the loss change him, because his time will come. Frank Bruno became world champion in his fourth attempt, and the losses are part of his experiences. But when he becomes champion, he'll stay champion. Wicked fight, wicked account in himself. So the world's open for him.
Do you feel Yarde is the best 175-pounder in the country now, or is Buatsi there? Is Callum Smith there? Where is that? Place that in order for those three.
Wow. So Callum Smith, you've got to put him up there. Callum Smith, you've got to put him up there. But Yard, you'd say he's amongst the top two, top three. You've got to put him up there. So you got Smith, Buatsi, Yard. You've got to put him up there no matter what you say. And these are some great fights that can be made.
Absolutely. Somebody who is rumoured to be coming back in April, Anthony Joshua. It sounds like he's linked up with Derek James as a new trainer. Has he got long enough to work with Derek James for anything to start working for a fight in April?
Well, we know what we know on an official basis. We don't know what we don't know what we don't know, as in what he's been doing before we found out he was working with Derek James. And listen, if he's decided to base and work with him, obviously it works for him. We can't judge. We can only speculate. Let's wait until he gets out there to fight. It's going to take a couple of fights before that union, before you see the benefits of that union. But certain fighters can chop and change coaches. I couldn't. AJ might be one of those fighters that can do that. He's found somebody in Derek James that works for him. It might be a respect. It might be new things he's learning. He needs to develop more. Because he'll probably look at Tyson Fury and think, this guy's getting better and better. Why is this happening to me? So he wants to improve. He wants to get better. And so I understand him doing it. I understand how hard it's going to be, and understand the pressure and speculation that'll be under. But we can only speculate until he gets in the ring, and then see. My speculation is, what is his desire? Because when you're being at the top of your tree and you think you're the best fighter in the world, once you know you're not, then your mindset, it's hard to adjust your mindset. It's hard to keep that motivation and desire and that one up.
Boxing at times can be a circus. I want to mention very quickly Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul. What do you make of that? And
you know what, this might not go down too well, but I think Jake Paul will beat him. I think Jake Paul's like him on. He's a novice. He's getting world-class attention and world-class money. An amazing promoter. But it wouldn't surprise me if Jake Paul beat him. It wouldn't surprise me at all. So he's one of the few YouTubers where you'd think he can actually fight. 95% of them can't fight. But Jake can fight, but he can promote and he can sell a fight. Now the fight's happening in Saudi, I think. Good. I'll watch it. You know, I'm curious, and I'm watching it because Jake Paul sold it. That's it. He sold the fight, because in reality, how many of you would as many people turn over and watch Tommy Fury? No disrespect to him. What I'm saying to you is Jake Paul has been arrogant, rude, disrespectful enough to get the attention that people love him and loathe him. But he's done the right thing, and the lesson fighters can learn from these YouTubers is, it's not just about being a good fighter now. It's about you are your own business. You've got to sell yourself. You've got to package yourself. You've got to market yourself where people want to watch you. If Jake Paul can do this at this stage as a professional, where everybody knows him and he's come from that YouTube world, well, we as fighters, the only fighter I think gets it is Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is that one that gets it. He's got that mentality that I'm selling myself. I've got to be that fighter, and the kid can fight, but he's got that crossover appeal. But most of the fighters need to do it. Get somebody to follow you around, be a videographer, and follow you, and just put it out there. Get people to. You've just got to sell yourself. You're your own business.
Do you think Tommy Fury sometimes gets unfairly criticised because he is still a novice? He is still early in his career. But because he's Tyson Fury's brother, people want him or expect him to fight bigger and better names already. Whereas a lot of fighters will start off their career, the first 10, 15, 20 fights, against a lesser fighter.
He does. And unfortunately, Fury is very identifiable name. So anybody with that name, you're going to expect they can fight. And so Tommy, unfortunately, he gets more attention and criticism and critique uh, because because he's a Fury. And that's either worked in his favour or against him. But but if it works in his favour, he gets paid a lot more money, he gets laid a lot more attention. But if he doesn't make the most of that, unfortunately, that attention, you've got to be careful what you wish for, because if you do good, the attention is great. If you do bad, the attention is still there, but everybody's telling you how bad you've been.
You mentioned a moment ago, Jake Paul. He's a good fighter compared to the rest of the YouTube crowd,
Yeah.
and to be fair to him, he's put the work in. He's training with trainers. He's doing camps, etc. Talk to me a little bit about KSI Misfits, and they've recently announced a tag team boxing match, whatever that's going to mean.
So KSI, another fighter, young YouTuber that's coming through, and he's actually again can fight, and so there's one or two of them that are just rising to the top, and I hope we see Jake Paul and KSI fighting each other at some point. I think the Misfit setup, it appeals to another crowd, and I know the true hardcore boxers and boxing fans, they'll struggle because they're thinking, why are these guys getting the attention and the dough that we should be getting? The fact is this: those youngsters that live on the games, and they don't come out of their bedroom, that don't care about anything else in the world apart from what's happening there. I bet you there's a percentage now that put it down and want to go to the boxing club. I bet there's a percentage now that know who Boxer A is and Boxer B is, and that's only good for our game. You can't judge who fights and who doesn't fight. I think as long as the misfits and the YouTubers that can't fight stay in their lane, then that's safe, once they really believe that they're world beaters, that's where there becomes a collision and a problem. So actually, I think it's pretty good. I think it's good. Hard to understand initially, but I do get it now. And it's entertainment. And listen, it's like walking through a co-op car park and you're seeing a scrap. You want to see it, but you don't want to see it. People see you can see it, but you want to see what's happening. Oh my God, he's so bad. Oh, that's what it is. So I'll admit to you, I'll watch it because I think, wow, this is bad, but it's good. So good on him. And listen, look at Floyd Mayweather. I think he's boxed on the 25th of February at the O2 against YouTubers. He's making as much money, if not more money now than when he boxed. The person he's pulling, so he's capitalizing on it and getting involved in that mix.
Absolutely. I just want to touch on women's boxing. It's on the rise. We had the brilliant event on Sky with Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields recently.
Yeah.
You've got daughters. Would you want them to box, or if they come to you saying they wanted to box, what advice would you give them?
Boxing, you can't play at boxing. If my daughter said he wanted to box, good on her. That's up to them. It's their call. I think they're pretty girls. I'd like them. I prefer them not to box, but I wouldn't tell them what they can't do, because the first thing they're going to do is do what you tell them they can't do. But I want them to understand the seriousness of it, and it's not just about the physical effect it has on it, it's the mental effect on it, and it's emotional effect it has on it. But it's the discipline and the benefits of boxing are far outweigh everything and anything else. I think women's boxing has been underrated. Women's boxing has been uh, not has only just getting the recognition it should have got years ago. There's a woman called Barbara Butterick. She was from Hull. She was the first world champion, female world champion. She used to, people thought she was a guy, and she was a trailblazer for women's boxing. Then you go along, and at the moment in women's boxing, rather good or bad, that gap needs to be filled. Once that gap's filled, you're going to see more exciting women's fights than you will men's fights, because these girls can fight. But I personally think you should make them 3-minute rounds, across the board. That's just how it is. That's it. It's not about being a male fighter, a female fighter. It's being a fighter. So I think it should be 3-minute rounds across the board.
Perfect. Yeah. Johnny, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. I'll get you long enough. I'll let you go. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. Nice one. Bye-bye. Bye.